Coca-Cola in the US costs $1. Over there, it's 25 cents, and it's a quarter of the cost. We found a way to buy the same Coca-Cola for 25 cents and then drink that Coca-Cola here in the US, and it was insane. It was a complete game changer. I needed help. I needed some leverage. I needed some time back. I was working 7 days a week. It was insane. And I knew something had to shift in order to make impact for the business. And so I hired my first virtual assistant, and it was an absolute game changer. I knew right away that I made the right decision, and that nobody this is 2007, nobody was using virtual assistants. The 4-hour work week hadn't come out. Outsourcing was reserved for Fortune 500 companies, large companies out there. We'd figured out a way to bring it to a small and medium-sized business, which was mind-blowing because it just wasn't an opportunity for most business owners to get cheaper labor. Think about it like this. Coca-Cola in the US costs $1. Over there, it's 25 cents. I mean, it's a quarter of the cost. And we found a way to buy the same Coca-Cola for 25 cents and then drink that Coca-Cola here in the US, and it was insane. It was a complete game changer. What was interesting about 2006 is the economy was just firing. Like, it was just this nutty time, and it seemed like all entrepreneurs, all of my friends were just on fire. Like, we were just successful. And then 2007 came, and somebody had taken the rug out from underneath us, and the whole world shifted. In fact, 90% of my revenue was gone in one quarter. And I actually questioned whether or not I was cut out for being an entrepreneur. And at that moment, we had to let go of 20, 30 people. I had 3 different offices: San Francisco, Redding, and Sacramento. So I had these 3 different physical brick and mortar offices. And I made the mistake of trying to keep those people employed and trying to make it work. I was talking to my agents. Like, what's going on? Why aren't people buying? Why aren't people selling? What's happening? And I made this mistake of not knowing the environment, the macro environment, and we held on way too long and ended up having to close all of our offices down. I moved my office back into my home, which was wild. It was a very humbling experience as an entrepreneur. And then we rebranded. I rebuilt the business. I figured out what needed to happen, who my new customers were. It took 6 months, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and I was nervous. I was scared that the economy would shift like on a dime, and I would lose a big client or something would happen. And so we hired a virtual assistant in my business, and I gave them just the paperwork task because I was a real estate guy. Lots of paperwork, real estate and mortgage. There's a lot of like detail and documentation work that needed to happen, and that was the part that I wanted to release to a virtual assistant. And it was so incredible, and it freed so much of my time so I could continue to build relationships. I knew at that moment that I needed to stop doing the paperwork and just focus on nailing the client, because that was the biggest impact as an entrepreneur I can make inside my business. And so after nailing the paperwork, I was like, oh my gosh, I need help on the transaction coordination. I need help in answering the phones and making calls. I need help. I just started hiring virtual assistants inside my business to get rid of the stuff that I didn't need to do anymore. And what happened, my brother and I are actually having a conversation, and he's like, hey, we need to keep this information to ourselves. Like, this is too valuable. We've landed on a gold mine here. This is just we could dominate our industry. And I was like, no, what if we just helped everyone else hire a virtual assistant? And that's literally how MyOutDesk got started. We discovered it. We solved the problem for our own business. We got leverage in our own business and freed our time up. And that's what MyOutDesk does for companies right now. We have over 1,500 clients, and gosh, we've served like 9,000 virtual assistants inside businesses over the last 17 years. And we focused on finding opportunities to take things off your plate so you can focus on the things that really, really matter inside your business. The things that you, as the leader, CEO, founder, whatever, those are the things that only you can do. And everything else can be delegated to a virtual assistant.